God puts us in nations, in places, not by mistake, but to do a job. What if we opened our eyes to the needs of our colleagues, of our leaders, of our subordinates, and we were a priest on their behalf?
My name is Brett Johnson.
I'm Lynn Johnson.
And we'd like to welcome you to the Repurposing Business podcast that will be coming to you each week.
Welcome to Season 6, How to Work Like God in 31 Ways. Welcome to the Repurposing Business podcast. We're in the series Work Like God in 31 Ways, and we are on day 7. Be material and mystical. You might have been told that you're so heavenly minded that you're of no earthly use. I've certainly heard that expression once or twice, but is it really true? The interesting thing about the nature of God's work is that it is both mystical and material. And let me read a little to you from the book. God's work is material and mystical. God is a thinker and He's a doer. His work is mysterious and it's practical. We may feel God in an abstract way, which is great, but He also intends us to see what He's like through the practical things that He's made. Now, skipping ahead, there is the thinking, sensing, intuiting part of our work, and something about Adam and Eve walking with God in the cool of the day, in the cool of the garden, in the mist, if you like, of the day. We need to recapture some of the mystical nature of work, sensing, listening to the Holy Spirit, and that's great. Then there's also the tangible, touchable, pragmatic side to God's work, and that has to be real as well. We can't just have one without the other. Today we talk about creating experience for people, not just things they can buy and touch and feel, but the sense of things. And in many respects, the hankering for an experience is a hankering for the dual nature of God's work, both the material and the mystical. You might wonder what this looks like. Well, I have a friend who deliberately hired people that he felt God wanted him to hire. Some of them had previously not been employed or had been in completely different industries. And the one time he hired somebody who didn't have any skills. She was a single mom. It seemed apparent her children hadn't been to school. And so he asked her, "What can you do?" And she said, "I can draw." And he showed her some illustrations. And so he hired her to illustrate a software manual that he had, but said to her, "I want you to do the illustrations on the computer." And she learned how to do it. And so she got upskilled. And then he said to her, "I want you to make these things that you've done 3D. Gave her the computer program. And for a week she struggled and couldn't do it. So he said to her, "Would you like me to pray for you and ask that God would give you the ability to actually do this in 3D? She agreed. And God did that miraculous thing for her. So there was practical work, but the involvement of our mystical God. And subsequently she came into a relationship with Jesus Christ because of that Spirit-inspired upskilling in her work situation. You would have seen the Shaker saying, "Work is love made visible." And here in that expression, we see both the combination of the mystical and the practical side. And so our work should be both material and mystical. It should have a practical expression, but the wellspring of the work should come from the mystical nature of us collaborating in work with God.